Well, good morning, 8th graders. We are continuing along here in Chapter 5, Solving System of Linear Equations. And today we're going to introduce a new method, solving by substitution. When you solve by substitution, you want to either isolate x or isolate y in one of the variables if that's not already done for you. Now in this one here, you can see that it says, well, x equals 2y plus 2, 2x minus 5y equals 1. You see that in this equation, x is already isolated for you. Okay, you have to solve for either x or y, and here x is already solved for you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this value of 2y plus 2 for x, and I'm going to stick it into this equation. So it's going to become 2 times 2y plus 2, because x equals 2y plus 2, minus 5y equals 1. All I did was take the value of x, which is 2y plus 2, according to this equation. So now I'm going to do 2 times 2y, that's 4y. 2 times a positive 2 is a plus 4, minus 5y equals 1. Now I'm going to combine like terms. Well, I have 4y minus 5y, and 4 minus 5 is negative 1. Now I don't put 1 in front of a variable, so that's going to be negative y. Okay, negative y plus 4 equals 1. I isolate negative y. Negative y, I'm going to bring this positive 4 over here by subtracting 4 from both sides. And 1 minus 4 is negative 3. So negative y, 1 minus 4 is negative 3. So negative y equals negative 3, which means that y equals 3. Then I have to go back in and solve for x. But now I know that y equals 3. So I'm going to take y equals 3 and put it into this equation. So x equals 2y plus 2. Well, y equals 3 as I solved. So I'm going to have 2 times 3. 2 times 3 is 6. 6 plus 2 is 8. So that tells me then that x equals 8. And the solution, remember the solution is where those two lines cross. We're looking for that place where the two lines intersect. The intersecting point is 8, 3. All right, let's look at another one. X minus 5y equals 1, negative 2x plus 9y equals negative 1. Well, once again, remember what I want to do. I want to solve for either x or y, kind of divide that up. And when I look at this one, x minus 5y equals 1, if I rewrite that over here, I see that I can isolate x simply by adding 5y to both sides, because that's going to give me 0, which will leave me with just x. There's nothing over here with y, so it's just going to become 5y plus 1. So x equals 5y plus 1. And so then I can take that idea of x equals 5y plus 1 and plug it into this equation. So if x equals 5y plus 1, this is going to become negative 2 times 5y plus 1 plus 9y equals negative 1. And I can solve for y. Well, negative 2 times 5y is negative 10y. Negative 2 times a positive 1 is a negative 2, plus 9y equals negative 1. Now I need to combine like terms. A negative 10 and a positive 9 is going to be, once again, a negative 1. So we're just going to put negative y. And so it's going to become negative y minus 2 equals negative 1. Well, I want to isolate the negative y, so I'm going to have a plus 2 there to make 0, a plus 2 there, negative 1 plus 2 is a positive 1. So I end up with negative y equals positive 1. Well, I want to get rid of the negative, So essentially what I'm doing here, I can either say I'm dividing by -1, I'm multiplying by -1, either way, but I'm changing the sign, okay? So essentially this is going to become y equals -1. Now I want to take y equals -1 and plug it into this equation. So to solve for x. So it's going to become x minus 5 times -1 equals 1. So 5 times -1 is -5. So it's going to become x minus -5 equals 1. But when I subtract the negative, I know that I'm adding. So it becomes x plus 5 equals 1. And if I subtract 5 from both sides, minus 5 is 0, minus 5, I get -4, okay? I end up with x equals -4. And if x equals -4, okay, then my intersecting point is -4, -1. All right, we have just a couple more here to finish up. Some point today it's going to give you the choice of method. It's going to allow you to make a choice as to which method you use. Well, here's one where they're already both in slope-intercept form. So when they're already both in slope-intercept form, remember I can just make them equal, and I like these because this is kind of review from what we've done. I can just set it up as -x plus 3 equals 2x. So the second part of your directions is going to say choose which way you want to solve it. So here's one, they're already both in slope-intercept form, so it's best just to go ahead and make them equal. Now the idea is I want to isolate the x, so I'm going to bring this -x over here by adding x to get 0. I'm going to add an x over there. There's a 1 there, so that gives me 3x. Okay, and so that tells me now that 3 equals 3x. And if 3 equals 3x, then 3 divided by 3, x equals 1. I go ahead and I plug x equals 1 into one of my equations. I'm going to use this one right here. So if x equals 1, this is going to be 2 times 1. Well, 2 times 1 is 2. So that tells me that y equals 2, which means my intersecting point is going to be 1, 2. All right, this is the last one we're going to do. Choice of method, x equals 5y, y equals 22 minus 2x. Well, in this one, they're both isolated. I have x by itself and I have y by itself. So we probably want to revert back to the substitution method that we were using at the beginning of this video. And I'm going to go ahead and I guess I'm just going to plug in 5y for x here. And so I'm going to go ahead with y equals 22 minus 2 times 5y, because this very clearly tells me that x equals 5y. So I'm plugging that in here. So that tells me that y then has to equal 22. -2 times 5 is a -10y. And I want to go ahead and add 10y to both sides. To isolate the y, that gives me 0 over here, plus 10y over here. Remember, there's a 1 there, but we don't put it. So that leaves me with 11y. That tells me that 11y equals 22. If 11y equals 22, 22 divided by 11, it tells me that y equals 2. I go back into my original equations, y equals 2. I think I'm just going to work with this equation here. It's much easier because y equals 2, so it's 5 times 2. X equals 5 times 2 because y equals 2. Well, 5 times 2 is 10. So that tells me that x equals 10. And then the intersecting point for those two lines is 10, 2. All right, we'll talk to you later, 8th grade. Bye.